Guess what? I wrote a course, and it's called Women Who Lead, and you can find it at www.aimwithus.com. And all you have to do is click on courses, and you and I can spend some really quality time together learning how to make every interaction safe, logical, fun, and memorable. And guess what, guys? It would work for you too. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. This is the recap, though. I am so excited. I'm so excited because we're learning together, we're growing together, and we are now here mid-May and doing some really impressive things. So thank you for going on this journey with me, and thank you for being such an integral part of Productive Joy. It is because of you that these really great things are happening. By great things, I mean great guests who have amazing insights, who are sharing their brilliance with us. So today I am recapping two really great episodes. So I had Stephen Foster and Deepak Parashar. This week was pretty cool. So Stephen Foster hails to us from the UK, and he created something called the Golden Nugget. This is kind of fun. So randomly on LinkedIn, I got a request from him to share a golden nugget of wisdom. And I don't know exactly how he found me or I found him. I just know that our paths crossed and I was able to record my golden nugget. My golden nugget was about figuring out how to make work fun so people don't quit. And I talked about that fun, you guys have heard me, means three things. Fun means people feel valued and appreciated. Fun means that people have a voice and they're allowed to use it. And fun means that you're leveraging people's talents for the greater good. In other words, giving them a job that makes sense for their skill set. And all of those three things together makes work fun, right? That was my golden nugget. But he has thousands of golden nuggets that people have given from all different walks of life. And what I appreciated about what he said a lot of great things, but he said, the 19-year-old has a golden nugget that's just as valuable as the person who's done the big giant thing, whatever the big giant thing is, right? Famous people who started Reebok, for example, because that's one of his golden nugget people. Why does that matter? Why does that matter to us on Productive Joy? Well, I think it's a couple things. I think one, it's paying attention to the fact that we bring something to the table and that something is worth hearing. I think the other lesson that I took away from Stephen was that failure is only failure if you quit, right? We had a guest that said that a while back. But the idea is it took him 30 years to get to where he was doing something that he was doing for the purpose of passion and purpose and not just to make money. And once he started doing something for passion and purpose, he did make money, but he also found joy. And I started Productive Joy so that you would, as the listeners, be given some ideas around how you can evoke joy in your space, because I do believe that joy is a choice. And I'm not saying everything needs to be butterflies and bubbles all the time, but we do need to look for the good if we want to see the good, because the bad's there too. And it's really easy to get bogged down in it. And so that's why I believe that productive joy is something worth seeking. But I also think that productive joy is different from just joy, right? Because joy is great and wonderful, but you need to have some way of letting that joy drive what you do and create something. And that productivity might just be new friendships. And I say just, there should not be a just in that sentence. It might be making new friends. It might be changing your business model. It might be creating some brilliant thing that the entire world desperately needs. All of those things are productive joy. So I have a friend whose life is shifting, and it wasn't necessarily something they chose. It was something that was kind of done unto them, and yet it opened all the doors. And now all the doors are wide open. In other words, he'd been kept in a box, and now the box has been blown up, and he went, oh, wait. Those walls weren't really there, right? It's kind of like the proverbial glass ceiling and breaking through the glass ceiling. Well, you can see what's on the other side, but ultimately, if you break through it, the sky's the limit. Let's use all the cliches in one. I know, I'm sorry. But my point is that it is important that we recognize that if there are walls and we feel like we're in a box, chances are we put ourselves there. don't have to stay. It is just as much a choice to bust out. So I want to thank Stephen Foster for choosing to make the world a better place with his golden nuggets. And I am honored that he chose to spend a little time on Productive Joy. And then I got to talk to my new friend Deepak. So Deepak Parashar had a really chance and awesome experience where he got to meet the Dalai Lama twice. The first time it was by happenstance. They happened to be on the same flight. The second time, though, he sought him out. Now, this is a man who has been very successful as an electrical engineer, and yet he realized that we all have divinity in us, right? And it's not so much about who you are worshiping, it's more that we have a higher calling. And that those two things, what we're doing for work or for career and that higher calling, aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. And it sounds a little familiar to the Productive Joy space, where I say that it is not mutually exclusive to be at work and having fun. I think those two things should and could go together. So Deepak was a really powerful guest in that he's had this major experience that was life-changing, but now he has turned that into a book and has created space for others to have really great experiences too. I'm not saying we're all going to meet the Dalai Lama. That's probably not going to happen. But what parts of what he experienced could we learn from and grow from? The biggest thing that he said, two things actually, that were kind of fun. One is he said, it's important that we ask for help. And I think sometimes we see that as a sign of weakness, and yet I would say it's a strength. So both Stephen and Deepak talked about being surrounded by brilliance, recognizing the brilliance in the room, and then going after it. By going after it, I mean leveraging it, leveraging their talents. That's fun, right? So looking for people who complement us and who create for us a space where we can be shiny and bright, but so can they, right? Sometimes we're surrounded by people that when we shine brightly, they try to dim us. And instead, both of these gentlemen said, no, let's make people as brilliant and wonderful as we possibly can. And let's see some really great awesomeness out of it, right? Pretty cool. The other thing that he talked about, and I just really liked this, when I asked him his definition of fun, he said he said a fun-filled day starts early and I'm in sync with nature. And he said, and the birds are singing and they're having a party and I'm going to join. I want to join the birds' party. I want to recognize that there is a party going on outside and I can be a part of it. I think we just go, right? And I know I do this. I just go and I miss the moments that are so right in front of me and special. So like volunteered in my daughter's kindergarten classroom, and the children are precious and trying, right? She has one little boy that, bless his heart, he has zero ability to manage his emotions yet. Now remember, he's 6, and many of us at 46 or 48 or 52 don't have the ability to manage our emotions either. But this young man really doesn't. And so he screams and screams and screams and screams. And then that causes a ripple effect for the kids in our class because they're covering their ears and crying and saying, why won't he stop? And why am I mentioning this? Because he just needs to find that coping mechanism that allows him to be in the moment. So when I was in her classroom and I was experiencing this, a little boy just took my hand and I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be right now, right? I could have been annoyed. I could have been like, oh gosh, I just watched him wipe his nose and that's gross. I didn't. I held his hand. And I think that's like joining the party with the birds, right? Like just being in the moment and choosing to be present wherever you are instead of worrying about the next thing. I am terrible at this, y'all. I am just admitting that to you right now out loud. I am terrible at living in the moment. I am an Enneagram 7, and those of us that are Enneagram 7s, we're constantly pushing for the next fun thing because then we typically miss the fun thing we're in. I'm telling you all of this because I think we need to be more present. I need to be more present. Maybe I'm just talking to me today, but I need to be more present in where I am and what I'm doing so that I can appreciate the singing of the birds, the experience that is right in front of me instead of pushing into the next experience. You can too. I designed Productive Joy to be a space where people could experience fun meeting action, right? Like that's the tagline. That's the thing that I say. Why do I say it? Because I don't think that work and fun are mutually exclusive. And I think it's up to us to create a space where the two can live together. And I don't know what your role is in your life. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you are literally a solopreneur. It's just you. But that doesn't mean that you don't have humans in your life that you're influencing. So influence well and create some productive joy with them. Or maybe you're running a company of 250 people or 2,000 people or 10,000 people and you're trying to figure out how to keep them all happy. Well, first of all, you can't. That's not your job. But it is your job to create productive joy for them. What they choose to do with it is up to them. So today, I would like to encourage you to find ways to create joy. Deepak taught us two things that when he was running, these billion-dollar initiatives for energy with 15 different countries represented. I said, "How did you keep them all together?" And his statement was, "Well, every time something went well, I gave the credit to the team. And every time something went wrong, I took the blame." Maybe that's your leadership lesson, your nugget today is that when things are going well, let people rejoice in it. And when things are going badly, take the blame so that others can start to get better on their own and don't feel that pressure. I don't know what your takeaway is going to be today. I had several, and I am just so grateful that you have chosen to be in this space. I need to hear from you. I want to hear from you. So email me, Christie, Christie, at aimwithus.com. Or maybe you just DM me on any of the socials, right? You can send me a message on LinkedIn and just say, "Hey, Christie, I listened to your episode on X and I thought it was great." Or "I would like to be a guest." Or "I had this friend who should totally be a guest." Tell me. I won't know if you don't tell me. And this is meant to be for you. So let's create some productive joy together. And let's continue to figure out ways to turn fun into action.